after that scintillating address by Chief Justice Shah, it becomes extraordinarily difficult for me to really keep all of you, listening to me for next few minutes. But I will make an endeavor. Chief Justice Shah, you've done a great service to the nation with today's address, as you have done for a long, long time. And I do hope and trust that not just those in power, not the judges, but the citizens also will hear your views across the country and will try and emulate and try and take some corrective steps. Let me say one thing. George Floyd's death in the United States of America. What happened? Black life matters. In India, with so many killings of innocent people belonging to the minority community, belonging to the Dalit section of the society, has this country ever woken up? In a country like Belarus today, 100,000 people gather to protest against a dictator every Sunday. In India, nobody is willing to stand up and speak. Why is it? Why blame judges? Why blame Supreme Court? Why blame institutions? Why blame politicians? We, the citizens, have lost our courage to stand up and demand our rights and our dignity. And we therefore should not be blaming everybody else. Of course, they are to be blamed. But, charity begins at home. We have to somehow find that courage to stand up. Nobody says, and nobody should think of any violent protests. But the peaceful protests that George Floyd's death, evoked, not just in the United States, but across the world, is something which we should really, think of. We must put pressure. The only pressure that can work today on the constitutional institutions, including the Supreme Court, is the moral pressure. No other pressure is going to work. If anybody thinks, if Justice Shah in his last, parting remarks said that he is hopeful that judges will change, I am not at all hopeful. I do not think that, with the fall of the Supreme Court started not because of 2014, sorry, no. The fall of the Supreme Court and Judiciary started with the 1992 judgment of the Supreme Court, whereby judges grabbed upon themselves the power to appoint judges in High Courts and Supreme Court. And with that became the decline. Yes, some exceptional judges have been appointed, but by and large, the appointment process has been seriously flawed. And judges have done great disservice because the collegium system works only on give and take. Every judge in a collegium has his nominees, and the three of them sit together and select their preferred nominees to recommend them for appointment as High Court and Supreme Court judges. This system has really, in fact, much prior thereto. I mean, Justice Shah will bear me out because, a man like Chief Justice P.D. Desai, I mean, perhaps Justice Shah was recommended by him. Chief Justice P.D. Desai recommended outstanding judges wherever he went. In Himachal, in Calcutta, in Bombay, and even in Gujarat while he was a senior judge. But as Chief Justice, all his recommendations were accepted. And when one recommendation was ignored and judges were appointed, a particular judge, he refused to participate in the oath-taking ceremony in Calcutta. Now, and those were the times when executive was appointing the judges in consultation with the Chief Justice. The judges have now said the executive must appoint in concurrence with the Chief Justice. And that concurrence, I must say, ladies and gentlemen, has been disastrous. Disastrous is the word. And I don't think we can change it at all. NJSC was perhaps a solution. At least we can then criticize the appointment process, the opaque, non-transparent procedure, this scratching of each other's backs that judges across the country are adopting. We can all criticize because once it is appointment by the NJSC and by the executive. Today we are not even in a position to criticize the judges because everybody is worried about the contempt. Now, these are administrative powers, but the administrative powers are being abused by the collegiums across the country. And I would say, barring exceptions, there are exceptions. Barring exceptions, the judges are appointing really not the best from amongst those available. And that's the mandate of the second judge's judgment, that you have to appoint the best from those amongst available. And that's not happening. We all know it's not happening. We all know why it's happening. So, I mean, in a country like India, the situation is very, very difficult in last 30 years for whatever reason, let's not blame politicians alone. We, the citizens, have lost our character. And I don't know where we can rebuild it. Whether our parents are responsible, our teachers are responsible, our religious leaders are responsible, our politicians are, our role models are responsible, from the films industry, our great role models. I mean, what is it that is driving this, country's citizens to complete lack of character building? Our courage has been taken away from us. So it is something where we have to begin, from the scratch, to start rebuilding our character and to believe, you can't just live in the past 5,000 years of history. And you can't, as I many a times jokingly tell my friends, that we must understand as Indians, and we all are proud Indians, that we can't defeat Babur in retrospect. We have to accept the history as it was, as it unfolded, whatever it is. We must criticize Babur for what he did, but we must also appreciate Akbar for what he did. Now, this is something which we have to understand, that we have to learn to respect history in correct perspective. And all this is today happening because, because there is no voice of people. If there is a voice of people, then things can change. In India, the democracy functions only during the elections. Once the elections are over, the elected representatives don't care a damn for democracy. Then they are perpetuating their own positions, their position of their friends and their families, and consolidating power as much as they can. It is the only country where, Constitution of India does not matter at all in governance, in day-to-day governance. There is nothing called rule of law in India. Yes, it is there for the rich and the powerful, and for the people blessed like us, that there is some semblance of rule of law. But for those hundreds of millions, maybe 1 billion plus people who do not matter because they are poor, they come from vulnerable section of the society, rule of law is singularly absent. And this is where we need to seriously introspect as a society. We have a duty to these 130 crore people. Each one of us has a duty towards them. We have to do something so that we can really take this country forward. And we have amazing talent. Indians are second to none in the world, in every walk of life, in every field. And I can tell you that, if only we are guided by proper persons, we can really do. Now, this is not the problem of India today alone. Look at Brazil, look at Turkey, look at Belarus, look at Russia, look at even America. Every country today is being led by leaders who are dividing the society vertically. And unfortunately, liberalism is being killed slowly and steadily. Globalization is now sought to be killed. Now, can you imagine in today's world that without globalization, any country can survive? India's pharmaceutical industry, for example, almost 2/3 of its basic ingredients come from China. We have no capacity to produce them. My friends who are large pharmaceutical company owners tell me that it will take 10 years for us to establish those kind of capacities. Now, are we going to therefore survive without this kind of ingredients? What will happen to our pharma sector, which is one of the most successful business areas after technology and other areas? So, the killing of liberal thought, the killing of the large-hearted globalization is now order of the day. But it's being done by the political masters because the people are not willing to resist them. If the people were to resist, now today, for example, after the Black Lives Matters in the United States, people have really, stood up. And it has brought tremendous pressure to the extent that in some cities, the mayors are even disbanding the police organizations altogether. Now in India, we can have, encounters in UP in last 2 years where more than 500 people have been killed without, anybody raising a voice about it. The Human Rights Commission doesn't say a word. The judges, the Supreme Court and the High Court are silent about it. But the people, the silence of the people is most troubling. And it is that, inner voice, that conscience of the people which has to be stirred up. We have to, raise our stand up. We have to raise our voice and bring some pressure. Then only we can succeed. If we do not do so, individual efforts by individuals who are doing remarkable work. There are lots of individuals, Mihir Bhai here, Tista here, Justice Shah himself, late Dr. Asghar Ali, and Justice Suresh, outstanding contribution on individual basis. Their country should be proud of and is indebted to them. But does it make a difference? It doesn't make a difference, with greatest respects to them. Yes, it gives us sense of satisfaction that we have been able to give to the society what is expected of us. But what really matters is the lives of millions of Indians. And unless we can change the lives of these millions of Indians, ensure to them the constitutional goals, social justice, economic justice, fraternity. The most important goal of the Constitution is fraternity and dignity of human beings, dignity of citizens. Where is the dignity of citizens today? If relying on completely fraudulent, facts in Nizamuddin Markaz, you can criminalize sickness of a community, arrest thousands of people, and media is party to it, police is party to it, judges are singularly silent about it. I mean, is this the kind of a nation that we should be really proud of? We love our country. I'm sure every one of you loves India as much as I do. But things which are happening are unbelievable. And therefore, it is very important that nobody came to the rescue of those who were arrested. Why is it that 100,000 people did not carry out a silent march for their own brothers and sisters who were arrested because they could not leave because of 6 hours lockdown? What were they doing there? They were only praying. They were only learning tenets of religion. Nothing wrong about it, and they were doing it with permission. Can you criminalize that kind of an activity? Then why not criminalize all those who attended, 100,000 people in Ahmedabad, to see President Trump? Or what is happening after that in number of series of such incidents across the country? But no, because these things are, these things give advantage to the politicians to perpetuate their power. So we have to seriously understand the nuances of the political movement in the country today. Every ideology must be respected. I am not against any ideology. If right-wingers have their ideology, I respect it. If the left-wingers have, I must respect it. But within those ideologies, we should be able to create a situation where people's dignity is maintained. The fundamental rights are ensured to them. And people are able to live with happiness and bliss in this country. During the Constituent Assembly debate, Ambedkar, Sardar Patel, and surprisingly Shyama Prasad Mukherjee, all three had consistently said one thing, and one thing which is totally forgotten by the majority community, that those Muslims who wanted to go to Pakistan have left us. But those who decided to stay back in India have left their fate in the hands of the majority. The burden is on the majority, therefore, to ensure that these minorities protected as much as possible and to bring them into the mainstream of the life. Now, this is completely forgotten today. So and it's nothing to do with majority or minority. The rights of those who are, who don't have a voice, the Dalits, the vulnerable sections of the society, the oppressed, or the poor, are all being compromised in one form or the other on a daily basis. Therefore, as Justice Shah very rightly says, judiciary has a great role to play. The Constituent Assembly debates show that throughout the debate on independence of judiciary, when they wanted to create courts, and particularly the Supreme Court, not just Dr. Ambedkar, not Jawaharlal Nehru, but people like Kanayalal Munshi, people like K.T. Shah, They all expressed their thoughts so vociferously and said that at all costs, independence of judiciary must be ensured when we draft the constitution. They did it. In fact, Ambedkar was, I would say, he was so futuristic in every conceivable way, including about, thinking that we might go through a dictatorship. But on judiciary's independence, I think Dr. Ambedkar perhaps has been proved to be naive, because he said again repeatedly that the functioning of the executive and judiciary is so separate that we don't have to worry about it at all. Now, little did he realize that we will have appointment of judges who will really not be able to withstand the executive's pressure. Now, that's something which really was inconceivable. And that's why he should have perhaps thought of an extremely powerful, extremely independent process of appointing judges to High Court and Supreme Court, which was not done. I think to that extent, Constitution framers perhaps never realized. They thought that goodness of the Indians will perhaps never create this problem. And NJSC was hardly an answer to that. But I personally feel that collegium system has to be dynamited. It has not served its purpose at all. Now, we have to therefore say today one thing, that we need thousands and thousands of Dr. Asghar Ali and thousands of Justice Suresh. Unless we can have those people, we really will not be able to motivate people to really understand their rights. People don't know their rights. We have to reach out to people to tell them what their rights are, how they can assert those rights, how they can really help themselves when their fundamental rights are being taken away by the government in one form or the other. It's very important. And I feel that, these kind of great people are far and few. Justice Shah, for example, is one of the exceptional judges that I have seen in judiciary in my 42 years of career. So we need judges like that. Now, I don't know, my hero was P.D. Desai all the time. And I feel that I've never seen a judge like P.D. Desai, with great respect to Justice Shah. P.D. Desai was absolutely unbelievable judge. His personal character, his personal attitude, his judicial approach, and his bleeding heart for justice was absolutely unparalleled. So, those are the kind of judges that I have seen. And when I began my practice in 78 in Gujarat, and I don't think we will ever be able to do that, because the bar, ultimately judiciary works because of both bar and the bench. And where is the bar today? Where is the bar which is willing to stand up for people's rights? Where is the bar which is willing to speak up against failures of the judges? Maybe one or two people, 5 people. Now, is that the kind, have you ever heard a single highly successful counsel of this country criticizing judiciary? They all come on television and give us all kinds of sermons. But do they ever speak up against the judiciary's failings? They won't. Because they need to be appearing before these judges day in and day out. And they therefore feel that we can't really criticize them. So this is something which is, the role of the bar, the fallen standards of the bar is something which is to be really worried about. The bar councils across the country are not able to do anything to maintain the standards, and the lawyers, for various reasons, are not willing to really rise themselves to a situation as demanded by the present challenges. These challenges are not new. I don't agree with Justice Shah that since 2014 alone we are facing the challenges. Even prior to 2014, I have been in Supreme Court since 86, and I can tell you that Supreme Court, time and again has done things or has conducted itself in matters which were really, I would say, not acceptable. It was not something, the Supreme Court failed again and again. The Supreme Court, I know of cases where if, man like Karuna Karan is convicted by the Kerala High Court, the Supreme Court fixes the matter for mentioning in court number 9 before a convenient bench, and the stay is immediately granted. And the stay continued till the old man passed away. So it's not in isolation. These things were happening in Supreme Court even earlier. I mean, 32 petitions were filed to quash prosecution in 2G, and Supreme Court entered and quashed them. In Jayalalitha's case, after her conviction, she was protected under an ex parte order, where the sentence, the judgment was stayed, allowing her to continue as chief minister, although she was convicted. So, things have happened in the past, and they are extremely troublesome. Let me put it this way, that Supreme Court has really not been a court. I mean, can you imagine that in any country of the world, a judge who is facing a sexual harassment charge, the Chief Justice, would have been allowed to continue even for a day? And he holds a hearing on his own on Saturday, abuses the poor lady, and she is dismissed. She is sent to jail. Her husband is sent to jail. And ultimately, she is reinstated with back wages when he retires. What kind of a court is this? Now, if she was guilty of having brought a false complaint, she could never have been reinstated. Her reinstatement clearly demonstrates that she was right and Chief Justice Gogoi was wrong. But this country, no voices are raised. Even women remain silent. Why didn't 100,000 women march out against that kind of a treatment to a woman? So it's something which we really, individual efforts are good enough for individuals, and it perhaps is good enough for their conscience, because then we can at least sleep peacefully at night. But it won't help the country as it needs, and it won't help 130 crore people. I would respectfully urge that we must really, and by honoring Justice Suresh, all the institutions which are behind this award ceremony, I compliment them and I really congratulate them for selecting a man like Justice Suresh, because that gives a very powerful message to the society at large, that even now, good deeds can be rewarded. And that's something which is very, very important. Late Dr. Asghar Ali, has contributed.
What is it, Baba?
That's why he lives in the hearts of, millions of people. And that's what really matters, that people like them have really left an indelible mark in the society. And we therefore today, at least remembering them, reminiscing their lives, really are sending a very strong message to the next generation. Our generation has failed. Let me honestly concede to that. But the next generation of Indians must really think about future of India. They must really do something, start working to rebuild India on the constitutional goals, on the constitutional lines, and to bring the dignity of the Indians. So I think it's very, very important for us to understand and move forward. Once again, I thank the organizers for inviting me. It's been a pleasure and a privilege. I thank Mihir Bhai for his kind words. I'm really grateful to Mr. Irfan Engineer for being, very, very kind to me in having, spoken to me again and again about this event, and having really been responsible for inviting me to chair this. It's been my privilege and pleasure. And thank you, Justice Shah, once again, on behalf of all the Indians. I say that thank you very much. It's been a great, it's been really great to listen to your views, your thoughts, which are not too many coming in today's times. And I do hope that perhaps your voice would be heard, at least by some of the judges, if not all the judges, and maybe things might improve. Maybe your hopes may turn out to be right. I wish you good luck in that. Thank you very, very much. And I end by giving my respectful and full-handed homage to late Dr. Asghar Ali and Justice Suresh, and pray that they continue to guide us. Thank you very, very much.